for me, how's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys notice this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast on Sonically magazine describes as the one that initiates profound discussions with rock and metal artists, allowing fans to discover the creative workflow of other famed musicians and understand the factors that make the band see or fall from fame. We're also sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your custom computing needs. Get $100 off your entire Gold CV pod at darkfusionsystems.com. Link to the podcast below. Go to millionpodcast.com. They rank the top podcasts across so many different categories all across the world. And in music, we're in two of them. Top metal music and top metalcore music podcast. For metal music, we're in the top 10. We're at number 10, guys. And that's awesome. But I want the number one spot. And on the metalcore side, we're number 2. I want number 1, not number 2. But we got to keep rolling and keep going. And we're going to bring that right now with another great artist. We have Adam from the band As Everything Unfolds to the podcast today. All the way from England with that post-hardcore, alt-rock, and metalcore connected sound. They've got a brand new album called Did You Ask Me to Set Free coming out on April 10th, 2026. In our second attempt at doing this episode, we not only make fun of Chinese Democracy, the album by Guns N' Roses, but we also dive deep into a number of different topics, including what Did You Ask Me to Set Free is about. We also dive deep into the connectivity between artists on social media, and also, one of the fun things is when it comes to artists, even the ones that, they might not be as culturally relevant as they used to be, are they bigger than they ever were? And should artists potentially think about that when it comes to making their music and put things into perspective? Maybe. You guys ready for this one? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast, we're bringing you as much great music as we can in this year, 2026. As much great music as possible, and in the best quality of episodes possible. We tried doing this once, but I'm going to blame Axl Rose for messing this up because we started talking about the album Chinese Democracy, and that's when the Wi-Fi literally cut off. So if you want to blame anyone for us having to do the second time, blame Axl Rose, blame that terrible album that came out in 2008. But we're not talking about that album. We're talking about an album that's going to come out on April 10th called Did You Ask to Be Set Free by a post-hardcore band that brings an alt-rock and metalcore stylings into their stuff. So enough with this crazy ass intro. Please welcome Adam from Everything Unfolds to the podcast. So Adam, feels like I gotta say this, but welcome back.
Thanks, man. It's nice to be back. I thought we were gonna do the whole it's the first time we've met. This has never happened before.
I went with, what? Screw that shit. Let's actually be real here, because it's more fun to bring up the fact that we tried this. We started shitting on that album, and literally the Wi-Fi cut out. So I'm blaming Axl Rose for all of this.
Cursed, dude. It's like seeing behind the looking glass, though. Do you know what I mean? It's so cursed. I still can't believe it happened.
I still can't believe that happened either. I mean, God, what a terrible album that was.
Listen, man, it took them that long to do, so they built on a lot of energy that they could shoot out whenever they wanted to.
I mean, that makes sense. You're putting a lot of energy, you're putting a lot of stuff in, time and effort into there. But again, we kind of were talking about this before the Wi-Fi cut out, even on this time, but it's very similar to what we've seen with a lot of other artists too. When you have a project that has so much time behind it, that has so much time between one release to the other, and when you have so much time, yes, you have the amount of time to craft something that's truly beautiful, but then you also potentially run in the risk of having way too much time to critique everything, way too much time to attempt to change a bunch of things, and then your original vision ends up, and your original sound ends up being changed from the songs because either you felt like you needed to tweak something, or the sound that you originally were so connected to, you are not connected to like 5-6 years later down the line.
Yeah, dude, I think it happens. You've got to give yourself a hard deadline at one point, because I'm trying to think. Loathe have released one song now, haven't they? They were out for was it 5 years, 6 years, or something like that. It's the same thing, and I was getting nervous for it, being like, shit, what's like when you leave it that long? I'm like, how are you guys gonna be okay when you come back? Like, are we gonna be missing the link in between? You know what I mean? Like, they released fucking hell. Because if they release an album, they've released a song very recently, I think, and if that's 2 albums worth of stuff you didn't release, suddenly we're not going to hear the transition between the two, and then it feels weird. That's the same thing that happened with Chinese Democracy. I think nobody saw the transition. It was just here's where we are. Oh, by the way, this is our new fucking thing now. So, I mean, hopefully ours hasn't done that, but you never know.
You know, I mean, hopefully it doesn't do that. But the other piece about it too is for an artist, I mean, because taking a look at what you guys had done throughout the course of your, history, it was like an EP to start, then EPs in 2014, 2017, 2019, album in 2021, 2023, now 2026. You're still kind of on that same trajectory of releasing music in a very similar capacity, maybe just one extra year than what's been, the norm as of recent. But that's not, extending out so far. Plus, there's always chances to give people a look in between the time period of what's happened by releasing a single or two. I think like Knocked Loose is great at that, bringing it up because they just released a brand new song, literally like an hour or two before we started recording this. And you're seeing it's like it's like they haven't had an album, their album in 2019. All right, they had an EP in 2021. They had 2 singles that came out in 2023. They had You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to come out in 2024. We haven't heard anything new from them since. We know they're around. We just haven't heard anything new from them since. And they drop a brand new song today, and it's like, holy fucking shit. If this is where we're going to be potentially going next, my God. I love watching that transition, but just keep it coming, keep it going. And now you're, as an artist, bridging the gap between major releases with little sprinkles of what that transition was like in an actual tangible form of songs.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to have to check the new Knocked Loose song after this. Is it literally just come out? Like, that's fucking mental.
Yeah, I was listening to it. Like, it came out maybe an hour or two before we started recording this. I was listening to it on my way back here to do this episode. And I'm just like... am I able to do this episode without like literally throwing my monitors around because it's stuck in my head?
Dude, I think it's quite fun. There's something that we've talked about as well, and I obviously can't say for like the future of what we'll do next, but I'd love to do some small stuff. Do you know what I mean? You do the little things where you either do a little EP or you're doing like collab pieces with features and stuff like that. It's just fun stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, you've got to do the big, hey, this is our era. This is our big collective piece. Cool. Labels like that for the CD and the vinyl. And I love an album. I think it's great. But it's nice to get those little songs in there that just kind of create, they don't fit on anything, but they're just mental. I love some of them, Yeah. I feel like people should do more of that.
It's not only do more of that too, but it makes sense in so many different regards from the music business standpoint, but then also connecting with the fans and just keeping your name in the zeitgeist. When there's so many musicians releasing so much new music all the time, and you don't want to potentially end up getting lost in the shuffle, be based on all these different playlists, based on how people are consuming music these days. So that's why you see so many artists, when it comes to a brand new album, they're releasing so many of these songs as singles, sometimes a year in advance before they even fully release them. Or dude, you go back to like 2024 when Falling Reverse released the Popular Monster album. The first single was 5 years before that album even released, which is mental to think about. But it kept everything consistent, keep it flowing, keep it going. But in those in-between times, you can show people that potential transition. You can show them what you're thinking at that point in time. But as you brought up, different collaborations, different ideas, those different one-offs that are showing a different side of the band, but at the same time give you potential to experiment with those ideas more if you want to, and then also depending upon the fan reception. It kind of sits its own microcosm and doesn't have to go further than it is, but it gives the fans something to just chew on, and it gives everybody something new to listen to, and you to continue showing that creative flow in a much more freeform way.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like back in the day, it was like albums, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? Everybody did an album and that was cool. But that was, you couldn't listen to music unless you went to a gig or you bought the thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like today. It's not like, when I was growing up, when fucking LimeWire came out and everyone was just cracking everything, dude. But you had singles and it was like lots of little pieces and like on YouTube and everything else. So it kind of feels like we've moved away from that album kind of thing, but only because people are just, you have access to music so often now. Like, it's a long time to wait to go and see what the next thing is, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, it's nice to do the eras and you do your album, you do your stuff, but then you're right, you do the little fucking stuff in between where you're just having fun. But I think a lot of people are too serious now. There's a lot of serious energy about, being in a band. Do you know what I mean? Everybody wants to be serious. Everyone wants to be, unless you're like a complete piss take band. Do you know what I mean? Unless you're just like, fuck it, we're here for fun. Like, I don't care. You know, I think everyone's a bit nervous. I think that's the thing with we have those conversations as well of like, if you just do something for fun and it's on its own, it's like it has to have a purpose. But like music doesn't need a purpose, does it? It can just exist.
Music can just exist. Music exists as like a microcosm for a time period in your life or a time period of a thought that
Definitely.
you were going through. So if you guys are, let's say, let's look at the future. Let's say you guys release Did You Ask to Be Set Free again in April of 2026, comes out, and all of a sudden 2027 rolls around and you guys are just having fun, having a good time, and you just create a great, riff, you create a great beat off of something and just want to build on it and see where it goes. You're not taking that as seriously as you would just a complete album, but you're letting the inspiration hit you and you're seeing where it's going to take you at that point in time. It's also, the classic practice makes perfect. You're songwriters, you're creators, you're continuing having those creative juices flowing and not having to completely shut it off to this era or to this collection or this collection because you don't have to do that anymore. And I do agree with you. There are a lot of artists that I think do take it maybe a little too seriously, or maybe the labels kind of put them in a box a little bit too seriously and prevent that from really happening. But the bands that are doing stuff where maybe some of those one-offs are definitely ridiculous or definitely a lot more fun, or they just don't fit on specific albums, but they fit as great songs, put them out there. What's the worst that could happen? Yeah, you're going to have bands that are going to be more fun and not taking their music as seriously. But what happens when they are just having fun and they release stuff? Basically, it's look at what Electric Callboy pulled off.
Oh, yeah.
They're just having fun.
For sure.
They're releasing a bunch of singles just randomly. Of course, they're all going to come together in an album at some point. But you get to enjoy that transition. You get to enjoy that growth every single year as time goes on, and they're constantly in your head. They're constantly being played. They're constantly a band you want to go and listen to.
Definitely. And I think that's because that's one of the things, because they are fun, they have so much, just generally, they have so much leeway to just kind of just do whatever the hell they want. Like when the Every Time We Touch cover they did, I was just like, of course you can do that. I was like, that's great. That's so fun. I was like, obviously you can do that, And it's nice to be able to have the free flow. I do wonder how that would work with other serious bands. Like, because I'm taking like a Sleep Token, for example, like that's like the pinnacle of this super serious art piece, right? How do you do, or you couldn't, you can do a collab thing, but you've got to be really particular, very interesting in the way you do it because of the greater narrative that surrounds them, but maybe it doesn't have to be a whole thing. Maybe it could just sort of come out. I remember I don't know if it's just like Misha from Periphery just leaked some of their demos or something at one point, because I just ended up seeing like loads of them that never made the cut, and there was stuff in there I'm like, this is cool as hell. I'm like, okay, fine, you didn't want to put it on the album, it didn't fit, it didn't flow, but it was nice to hear the stuff they were doing that just never sees the light of day otherwise. I think that's fun as well, but obviously that's different to doing a singly thing with a collab and a video and blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
but it's fun to see.
Yeah, again, I think bringing up Knock Loose, especially with what they've done since I would say 2019 with an EP and with a couple of singles every here and there between those album cycles, you're seeing like what they're growing into, and it works. Or we're not take away from the seriousness of Sleep Token. Let's go down the middle between the seriousness of Sleep Token and the absolute rampaging fun that is Electric Callboy. Is there a band that can go from the serious route to more of the fun route, just have a great time with it, and can do something like that and actually make it work? And obviously the answer is Bring Me the Horizon. I mean, where else are you seeing that really happen? But they're able to put them together as collections of EPs, but they're able to just drop singles every now and again and have it they're going to sound completely different, but it makes sense because the buildup is there. The quality is there. It's all about just creating that expectation of, you're going to get an album at some point, but you're going to see that creative process happen in between and see that growth happen in between. And we can go anywhere we want with this. We don't have to stick to the same formula over and over again, because if you just stick to the same formula over and over again, you're never going to grow. You're never going to get further beyond the creative capacity that you are at right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think it really helps to have, especially with Bring Me, to have such a such a powerful front man like Ollie, who's just I feel like he loves what he does and he just enjoys making music and he just enjoys performing it. And I feel like you can feel that with a lot of the stuff you do. And if you ever see any like some bits where they were recording, I don't think they're recording Ammo or something like that, you can see how much he's just kind of enjoying the process and just getting stuck into it. And I think that's when you make the best music, is when you're enjoying yourself, or at least committing yourself into the bit, I should say. Obviously, if you're writing a sad song, maybe you don't want to be like, you probably want to be a bit more sad, but like you're committing to the bit and you're committing that part of you fully instead of sort of holding back, which I think that he does really well. That does allow them to do that crazy stuff with the singles. And then they can just put random fucking stuff together and it sounds great.
Yeah, but it's also an inspiration, too, for what you guys could do potentially going forward, potentially going after this album cycle into 2027. It could show that, you guys are going to be able to try different things. You guys will be able to try different ideas, bring in different features, just try new things and just fully invest in it, because the key is that's what you want to do. If you don't want to do it, again, totally understand. It's like, with all the stuff with social media, there's a lot of artists that don't want to do it, but they're forced to do it, so they do things and it doesn't come across as genuine because you feel like you're forced to do it. Again, totally understand, totally makes sense on that front. But when it comes to your art, when it comes to your creation, when it comes to things that you really want to do, just fully invest in it, fully put yourselves into it with whatever emotion you're trying to convey in that song, whether it's something happy, whether it's something sad, whether it's a little bit more depressive, whether it's aggressive, whether it's just full-on elation or reflection, whatever emotion you're trying to convey, fully invest in that and then put it out there, because you're going to create a song that's going to connect at some point in time when you're that invested into it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's quite weird as well, the way that social media affects the way we, one, listen to music, but two, also like find music, dude. Like, I didn't grow up in this era of like, fucking making TikToks and reels and stuff like that. Like, we're doing the thing and we're having a go, and like, we did a content day literally yesterday, doing all the fun stuff. You play the camera, blah, 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 just because it looks cool and it's a fun way. And it's really nice how you can find new music that way. Whilst I'm kind of like, like the old way where you go to a fucking gig and you'd be like, this is sick, but it's cool that you can just be at home and just find something, and you could be feeling a certain way at that time, and you just stumble across it and you're like, oh dude, that connects with me. I love that. You haven't had to leave the home, you haven't had to do anything. It's just here, like right in front of you. And I think that's really powerful. And I think that's why a lot of these newer, the younger bands who are able to finesse the system. It's not quite that, but they know how to play the game in today's age, that they do so well, because they understand that feeling and they understand how to get it in people's faces who also feel the same way, because that's what music is, isn't it? Just, I feel this thing, I'm putting it down into a song, and if you resonate with that as well, then you're like, oh, okay, I love this because I resonate with it. Being able to have that accessibility of stuff is so cool. And that ties into, if you're doing little singles and stuff like that, you're not waiting a whole new year to do that thing. You could just, every 4 weeks, bang, every 2 weeks, whatever, like make it up. And then it's just there, and it's just out there, and you can just keep doing new stuff. And the algorithm will do the horrible algorithm thing.
yeah, they'll do the horrible algorithm thing. But when it comes to the bands on social media too, I kind of always, or artists, I kind of put them in 3 camps. It's you have or 4 camps. You have the artists that are not doing well on social media, and their music doesn't have any substance behind it. You have artists that have music that has a lot of substance behind it, but then their social media presence is non-existent. You have artists that are doing incredibly well on social media and connecting in that discovery phase, but when you go deeper beyond just that discovery phase or just that one single sound, there is nothing else there because it's all catered to that specific notion. But then you get the great artists out there that are able to connect on social media like that and have that discovery phase. But when you dive deeper into them, the discovery goes so much further because the subject and the content and everything in terms of what the song is all there. It continues to drive the story of that emotion. It doesn't leave it to just one cool sound or one little call out and a breakdown that sounds perfect on a 20-second, TikTok video.
Yeah.
That's where a huge piece of it comes in. And that's where a lot of the greatness of TikTok comes in, because it gives you the ability, or social media gives you the ability to discover all these different musicians, all these different sounds in unique ways. But the problem is it's all focused in on the surface level, and you can cater to that surface level. But when people want to dig deeper, which is required for an artist to go from just that viral moment to long-standing like Sleep Token did in 2023, it's not going to happen unless the absolute substance of the song carries from beginning to end and not just for that one single part.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's because of the way the algorithm does things, it almost penalizes you from doing that. Because once you've found your little niche, what it wants you to do is continuously do that one thing forever. So if you try and deviate away from that, within reason, like musically, but once you try and deviate away from that, it punishes you, and then you don't get the same out of it. Because that's the thing that it likes, isn't it? That's the thing, like it's a fucking entity. But like that's the way that the pattern recognition works, isn't it? You go, oh, this thing did really well. This is the same thing. It must also do well, you know? So that's kind of a shame. And I think that's something that, you know, musicians, new and old, need to kind of like get the balance between of going, okay, well, we're going to do some stuff like this, but we can't do all the things like that. We still need to take risks, and we still need to try stuff out and figure out who we are and what we sound like. Because sometimes that breadth is the nice thing about an album or about an artist, you know, that it's not just one thing. Okay, maybe you want Knock Loose to be fucking all the time, and that's fine. But like, let's say they have one song, two songs that like bring the intensity back, and it's really delicate, and suddenly you kind of go, oh shit, it's not just this heaviness, we get the breadth in there as well. But like, oh, look how much range they've got. And maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's not a good thing, but I think it's nice to see. You know, I quite like a band to be able to do that. You know, I loved Slipknot when I was growing up, and there was quite a few albums where they have that. You know, you can have like Snuff from like that was so sad and it was so beautiful, but but that made the heavier ones heavier, you know, because you had that juxtaposition. But put Snuff on fucking on a TikTok or a reel.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna do that well on a reel, you know. I mean, maybe it will. I don't know.
No, it would have been the same way if, like, let's imagine, like, go back to say the TikTok was around like 2008, just because this is where I'm literally looking at the posters right now, so this is gonna pop off on me. Like, Rise Against releases Appeal to Reason, Savior's a huge hit, and that would have been a great, like, the chorus that perfect for like a TikTok style thing. Now, of course, as time goes on, you know, you're going to be able to hear other songs that are going to be similar to that notion, but then we might not get the creative evolution that happened later on or was already happening when that song came out. We're not going to get what happened on Endgame. We're not going to see more of this poetic style and more of this artistic style of punk takeover. It was going to be much more of this like pop punky, a little bit more drive behind it. Or you're not going to have chances to hear songs like Swing Life Away or Hero of War to start to evolve, go further into songs like People Live Here. There's not like, it's going to stifle, you know, creativeness if bands are going to focus in on that algorithm and what's going to hit. It is something that is, always tell artists, don't be stifled by it, but it's hard to stop when you get that moment of recognition and you're starting to see the numbers go up and the dopamine hits. You're like, yeah, this is good. And then they start to dip because you put out something that's more artistically you. And you're like, oh, I don't want to see that dip because I achieved that moment and I don't want to lose it. I don't want to take that back step. So now you compromise the integrity of what you want to do to please an algorithm because it's looking for similarities instead of creativity.
Definitely. You know, it's quite hard as well to come to terms with the fact that you're going to have big songs and smaller songs. Like you have to just accept that that's going to be the case. Do you know what I mean? And the one that you think is your favorite might not be the big one, you know? Because I mean, you look at some of these bands where they release new music, but there's an old album that just fucking it's iconic forever. It was they were just right. That was the right album at the right time. And that's it. It doesn't matter what you release after that. Like, it'll do all right, but like, it's never going to hit the figures and the numbers that it was doing. It's never going to have the cultural impact it had at that time. And you got to be okay with that.
Yeah, it's a perfect example. Even though they're a huge band, is the Killers. You know, Hot Fuss comes out in 2004 with Mr. Brightside. Somebody told me on there. And it is just a massive thing. Yes, the Killers are always releasing new music. Yes, people still connect with it. But it's never going to get to the level of Mr. Brightside ever again.
Never. And is that a good or a bad thing? I mean, they're clearly doing super well, and they've got a song that like you can go anywhere in the world and people know the fucking lyrics. Like that's pretty cool, you know. Like you go to a fucking pub or a club or anything, and then or maybe not a club anymore, there's a cheese room, but like fucking people. Do you know what I mean? Like anywhere, people know it. They're gonna sing it. Okay, they might not have it with your new stuff, but the people that are really your fans are going to be connecting with that, and they'll be with you the whole way. But it's nice that you had a moment where you could break into the global zeitgeist with a song. Like that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and it's the only bad part is like, you're always gonna be associated with that song at one point or another when you want to be associated with other works that you've done.
Yeah.
But by having that global reach of a song, you're always gonna have people interested in what you're doing or what comes next. You're always gonna have people interested of what's gonna happen. Like another example would be Sleep Token. When they released their album in 2023. Yeah, it was a huge monumental thing. And now when they released even in Arcadia back in 2025, yes, it was big. Yes, a lot of people connected with it. But it's kind of like, I don't think you're ever going to have that moment that you had 3 years ago again, just based on what, like the time and the place. Similar with Bad Omens in 2022. I always hope that artists have bigger moments like that, but it's always hard to get past that like massive moment where if I say a name, you automatically know like what song what song the world's gonna be referencing, or automatically know what sound that culture is going to be referencing when they think of your band. Chord, another good example, when they released Freak on a Leash. Like, yeah, they've had great albums. They've had great moments up to that. But have they ever gotten to that tippy top point that Freak on a Leash hit them in 1994?
It's weird because it depends what metric you use in terms of like if they're bigger now. Do you know what I mean? It's because like there's an element that like Korn are the biggest they've ever been purely because of time. Like as time's gone on, more people know about them and go watch them. They might not be super fans anymore. People might have, because people come in and out and everything else like that. But like the amount of people that will know Korn and would go at a festival would be like, oh, I'm gonna fucking go and watch them. Suddenly, maybe the cultural impact of like the buzz, that's the highest point, But then in terms of the biggest you'll ever be, I'm like, maybe that just comes later, I mean, you see some of these legacy bands that are, doing unbelievably massive stadium tours and like headlining unbelievable festivals and stuff, but they might not be I'd arguably say they're not at the pinnacle of the buzz around them, because that would have been back in the 80s or the 90s or whatever, but they're still big and that's still cool. Okay, you're not doing, but the fees are probably bigger as well. Do you know what I mean? I think that's fucking mental. So then maybe it's not the end of the world to do the thing, and then, but it's not coming back down, is it? That's the thing I'm trying to phrase. Is it because like there's that moment where you are culturally the biggest or the most
most relevant.
Yeah, at that one point. But then as that will fade away, because it naturally will. You can't be the number one forever. You still get bigger, but maybe you're just not talked about outside of your fan circle as much anymore. Maybe that's the thing.
I wanted you to keep going on that as long as you wanted to, because you kind of spoke to something that not many people really ever do, but it makes a lot of sense. Where when we think of artists like, again, the Killers are a great example, Korn, Metallica, you name some of the biggest artists out there, when they were at that like cultural peak, when everyone was talking about them. Sleep Token, another great example too. But I'll go specifically with them because you can see this happen in real time.
Yeah,
when Sleep Token popped off in 2023, that might be easily the most culturally relevant they have ever been, just given how massive the sound was, how massive people were getting into it. But when the album released, and then the next year, and like next year, when they came to the US and did some shows, they were in rooms that maybe held 3,000, 3,500 people. I say that because I was at one of those shows. Okay, now are they as culturally just like massively hot as they were back in 2023? No, but they're still pretty culturally hot. But take a look at when they're not as culturally at that peak, but where they are now. They're headlining festivals in Europe. They're going to headline festivals in the US very soon. They did an arena tour that sold out in minutes in the US in 2025.
I believe that. Yeah,
so the buzz around them in culture isn't as big as it once was. but the amount of people that are connected to the band and want to be a part of that sound and want to go see it and love that sound are larger than it ever has been. You can say the same thing about The Killers, say the same thing about Korn, say the same about Metallica, Slipknot. These bands are headlining major venues, major festivals, stadiums even. But then back when they were at the height of their like cultural popularity, they never would have been able to achieve that size just based on where they were up to that point.
That's the thing. I hope that nobody like gets upset or think it's a bad thing for you to not be at your cultural peak anymore. But that's kind of the thing, isn't it? That it's almost like that moment is the little catalyst moment that takes you to being somebody who's gonna last the test of time. You know, because you have that little point in time that says, yeah, we're spread everywhere. Everyone's so into this. It kind of almost doesn't matter what happens now because you're so ingrained in the lifeblood of it. So then from then on, it's just like, go as long as you want to go for. Do the thing. Have fun.
Yeah.
You know? And then you will, as time goes on, more people will pick you up, more people will want to listen to you and stuff like that. But you'll have had that moment in time where people who maybe don't like you now or don't listen to you now still remember that moment when they did and they were interested and it was talked about. And they'll come and see you, maybe not at a show, maybe at a festival. You know, and then suddenly these people who don't listen to you now will go and see you and will listen to you, as well as all the people who have followed you the whole way, which is weird. Do you mean it's like you're less culturally relevant, but more people want to come and see you, and they will do because of your vast back catalogue. Like, I don't really listen to Fall Out Boy's new stuff, but if they're playing, I want to go fucking see them. Like, From Under the Cork Tree was like, that was my childhood. Like, I'm going to go see it, but I don't listen to them now. But like that point, From Under the Cork Tree, Infinity on High, they were so culturally relevant. It's fucking mental. And then Folie à Deux as well. That for me felt like it was not down. I feel so bad to say like down. I'm like, it's not that you're getting worse, it's that metric.
Yeah, it's like when Folie à Deux came out, it was like culturally relevancy, they weren't at the peak that what they were. But in terms of the amount of people that knew about them or had a positive connection to the band, that was much higher. I look back at, like Green Day. Yeah, Green Day had the major popularity spike back in 1994 with Dookie, and then had it again in even grander scale in 2004 with American Idiot. That's really where I stuck in there. And now I really don't listen to anything new Green Day puts out. But seeing them live at Louder Than Life in 2023, headline the last day. And like I wanted to see this because I wanted to see what would happen when they played American Idiot. They ended up playing like all but 2 songs off that album. It was nuts.
It's an unbelievable album.
It was great. It was fantastic. And it's something where it's, when American Idiot came out, I don't think they're headlining a festival at that point in time to that size. But
no way.
Now they might not be as culturally hot as they were back in 2004, but holy shit, are more and more people remembering like that moment. It's that moment makes you kind of that like a longer standing legacy that's going to continue the test of time, because the people that loved you during that point in time will always have that connection to you. And the people that are newer are going to be intrigued by why.
Yeah, 100%. You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is. And I can't believe how big they are. Didn't they fucking... what was the American thing they did the other day?
Yeah, they just opened they played right before the Super Bowl.
That's fucking insane. Do you know, the level artist you have to be to play at the Super Bowl is fucking mental. Yeah, like Green Day are doing that. I'm like, that's fucking unheard of. It's absolutely unheard of.
Absolutely unheard of. Absolutely nuts. But dude, we could say and talk about this as much as possible, but we need to talk about this album called Did You Ask to Be Set Free, coming out on April 10th, 2026, because, we're trying to create that moment in the zeitgeist of culture to get, the bands and the artists that we love to pop and to be those artists that are going to be remembered forever. We want to see that happen here. So let us in. What really encompassed Do You Ask to Be Set Free, and what was the idea behind this overall album from your perspective?
We're really going for... It's funny. We talked originally when we started writing it. We were trying to like map it out. We were trying to be like... We'd kind of do the album before where we just kind of write some stuff, have some fun. And we did have fun this time, don't get me wrong. But when we kind of sat down when we were first writing, it was like, okay, what kind of vibe are we looking for? what would we like to do? What would be a cool thing for us to move into and progress from? Because you do the first album and then you try and improve or whatever. For the third one, it's kind of like, okay, we've done two. Which way do we need to go? What went well? What didn't go well? All that fucking boring stuff. And I think it's funny that I remember now that we talked about doing a darker, more heavier record, but I don't think we necessarily talked about it being like sort of faster pace. I think we wanted a darker atmosphere, a little bit heavier, a little bit lower tuned. I thought that would feel a bit nice. And it's actually quite funny that all of that did come true, but we kind of stopped thinking about that. So it's amazing that we just managed to keep that aim from happening. But I don't know, dude. We just kind of wrote it because it was kind of fun. I think we were just having fun a lot of the time, and we were just kind of like trying a lot of stuff out that was different, but still trying to capture some of that raw energy that I think the first one had, that the second one kind of lost a bit. I think the first album, Within Each Lie the Other, that had a kind of raw chaos energy of just, we were just fucking about making songs. And then the second time round, it was a bit more, we tried to be a bit more polished, a bit more clean cut, a bit more rock. And we were kind of like, that was kind of fun. You know, we enjoyed that, but we kind of like the chaos and the ferocity of the kind of that aggressive, more metal kind of thing rather than the rock thing. And I think that speaks in the album. I think you can feel on some of these tracks the ferocity in terms of the instrumentation, in terms of like Charlie's vocal, and in terms of the atmosphere and stuff. Like, you know, Set in Flow and What You Wanted, like they're gnarly. The Idols opens up and it's like fucking hell, like straight away. But then it's fast and we've kind of got these like dance elements, which kind of ties in with stuff we learned before, but keeping it fun and upbeat, but still kind of sonically dark, you know?
Yeah, it's you can still keep it sonically dark, and you can still keep it in this deeper, heavier space, even when you're trying to bring in some more poppy, dancey elements at the same time too. It's very possible. We've seen a lot of artists do that. But it's the key of, you know, wanting to make, like, just, we're feeling like something that's going to bring a darker energy, bringing something that's going to be a little bit more raw than maybe what we did in the past, but raw in terms of this darker sense. But how do we put that forward? Well, there's different ways you can do that. You can have the energy behind it to just really drive forward and have a lot of fun with it. But when you're so heavily invested in it, that's when you're going to create music that's actually going to have that full substance behind it and have this continuous flow from beginning to end, and each song that makes sense. We were talking about that before. It's, you know, when you're creating this music, you want to be invested in that emotion that you're trying to portray. You're going to want to be invested in the entire story that you're trying to tell, because if your attention is split, you're not going to give out the best result. You're going to give different emotions to that time, and where, you know, the massive, you know, chorus has to hit, or the massive breakdown has to hit to really bring forward the largest space of emotion that's there. But if all of a sudden it's got to be dark and, you know, your attention's drifting because all you're thinking about is cute little puppies playing with tennis balls, you're not going to write the proper thing, because your emotions are essentially skewed at that point in time.
Yeah,
where
definitely.
you just dove head first into this with this intention. But why, you know, you guys said you didn't have to try to keep that going, was because you were invested in the style and the sound and in the emotion of these songs, and had to keep this continuous flow of what you wanted to do with that energy 1 through 12.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we wrote a lot of different stuff, a lot of stuff that didn't make the album as well, because I think it's really important just to, in a writing session, just to write it, let it out, and then deal with it later. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of just want to, whatever you're feeling in the headspace where you're in the studio, get it out. Just get it out, and then come back to it, and then see where you are, and then see where all the pieces fit together. You know, rather than trying to build it piece by piece and trying to cram stuff in where maybe you aren't mentally and you aren't, you know, you aren't letting out. I think it's more important to just let the whole thing flow, see where the pieces fall, and then just have a look at what you've got and then piece it together, which is kind of what we did.
Yeah, because I think about, like, I've heard plenty of songs in the past too where it sounds like, I call them post-it note songs, where it feels like you have a bunch of different ideas and a bunch of different words, a bunch of different sounds, and you throw them up on a board with a bunch of post-it notes. So now you have just different ideas, and you're trying to build them block at a time, and you're trying to make these different, like, post-it notes fit together, where at times it might seem like it fits together, but then you listen to the song and emotionally it just sounds too choppy or too unfocused, because you're constantly going from one sound or one emotion to the next, and there's no full congruency in the thought that you're trying to portray. It's kind of like having ADHD in a song where you're just like want to go somewhere, and you're like, ooh, look, a squirrel. Oh, a cloud. Hi, how are you? It's the focus. It's not that you always have to be so focused in on and laser focusing on that attention of where the song has to go. But if you let the story flow and the emotions flow, that emotion's going to be your guide to create something that is actually going to be cohesive when you're trying to get people to connect with a song or connect with a feeling you're trying to portray.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the things that how I like to write is like from the beginning, and then let the song go from there. I don't really enjoy writing bits, and I don't really like writing a verse or writing a chorus or writing something and then trying to circle back from that. I feel like that's a really bizarre way of doing it. I'm sure it makes sense and everything to the people that do it, but I think because when you hear a song, you don't know where it's going to go. So for me, you have to start at the beginning. I'm like, okay, as soon as you put this on, what's going to make me go, okay, I'm listening, I'm interested. You might have the best chorus in the world and stuff, but they're like, if I don't sit down, put it on and go, okay, I'm interested, I'm listening, what's happening, where are we going, what's happening on, then what's the point? It feels natural to me to start at the beginning and let the song progress, let the emotions progress, let everything just happen, and it will feel as it wants to transition. As you're saying, that's how you get into it. If you just try and start at the end, that feels mental. You don't listen to it like that. You don't read a book like that. You don't watch a movie like that. You watch it from the beginning, didn't you? So
no, and then on the creative side too, it's you don't ever really. You're never going to start from the end and go back to the beginning and try and recraft a story. It's like, I'll use Game of Thrones as a great example. It's, you're creating something and it's okay. Now we're going continuously, and you get to the point where the television show, passed up where the books were. And now it's okay. What do we do? Well, now you're trying to throw a bunch of stuff in there just to make sense to hit a timeline.
Yeah.
And now it's going to get so messy to the point where the show that was considered going to be the show of the 2010s end up just falling so flat in its face because there was this creative just disconnect with what was at the beginning versus what was at the end. Definitely. And if you start with you brought up with the chorus, I could come up with single-handedly in isolation the greatest chorus of all time, and you could come up with a chorus that, let's just say, it's okay on, I don't say isolated, it's just okay. But what happens if you started from beginning to end of a song and you built up into that chorus with a proper emotion, with a proper guide? Because now by the time the chorus, it's because of what preceded it and the emotions that it evoked in you. Everything now is connecting in you and makes sense and make that chorus go from potentially okay to one of the greatest of all time. I could have the greatest chorus of all time in isolation, but if I'm writing then end to the chorus and trying to connect it back to the beginning, you're going to listen to the song and be like, yeah, that chorus might have been catchy, but I have no clue what I'm supposed to be feeling at this point in time. I've got no clue of how this is supposed to evoke any kind of positive emotion in me. So those songs are kind of like the songs I kind of consider the pop songs, where it's all right, they have this grand moment, and then by the time 5 months go down the road, they're already forgotten about because there is no long-standing presence unless you actually have an ability to create a song that is cohesively going from beginning to end with all parts playing their perfect role.
Definitely. It's so much about it is the context, isn't it? Of the thing, But it's fun. I mean, I'm sure there are some people that have figured out how to do it in that kind of weird way, but I don't think it makes any sense. And it's the context. It's always and always, always the context. If you, and it's the context of the juxtaposition, because it's the same way, like when you were saying with the chorus, but if you've got a breakdown, there has to be some sort of give and take for me to feel like we've gone somewhere. We've taken it down. It's gotten slower. It's gotten heavier. Like there has to. If we start, if you start at 11, like where do we go? Like the only way we can go is down to then ramp it up again. If you start at the beginning of a song at fucking 11, it's like, do you know what I mean? Suddenly the verses and the chorus have to be 12. I'm like, fucking getting to 11 is hard enough. Do you know what I mean? So we got to build it a bit more like that, which I think that we tried to do on this way around, mainly because I can't not do it from the beginning. I just can't. I think we might have done I'm trying to think if any of them didn't start at the beginning, but I think they all basically start at the beginning. It's funny, Setting Sun, the beginning of that wasn't the beginning. That actually started as a bridge. That started as a middle section. And when we were listening to it through, we were just like, it doesn't make any sense. We've gotten to a point in a song and then we've taken a tangent. So it's like, okay, well, let's just make this a new thing then. And then we made it a new thing, and then we had to change it around to make it flow and make it fit more. It's fun that a new beginning happened from there.
Well, yeah, it's like you're starting with a song and you're building it, and all of a sudden you get to the part of the bridge, and it's like, okay, this is where it feels like the song should actually start. Okay, let's have that start the song. Let's build from there. So now it's essentially, you might be starting over, but you're starting with a sound that you absolutely connected with, but now you're starting at the beginning, you're going to let the song build on itself. You're not going to try and cram a piece into something that's already existing. You're taking a piece of something that's already existing and starting with it and building on it from there.
Definitely. Obviously, the other option is you can do the prog thing, and then I'm like, this is all one song, and it lasts for 11 minutes, and it's fine. You know, because, dude, you've heard some of them. Some of the prog songs are real songs, and some of them, I'm like, this is 3 songs stitched together. I'm like, you can't pull the wool over my eyes, dude.
Nah, you just can't do it. But one question I always like to ask, especially when we got a new album coming out, is when it comes to this album that you have, there are singles that are out right now for all of us to listen to, but of course, there's going to be songs that don't come out till release day. Those are the songs I want to focus in on. So, Adam, the question is, on release day, which is the song you are most excited for people to hear and why?
I think it might be Reverie, only because I don't think that people will see that coming. It's just so different. It was the last one that we wrote, and it's different. It's fun. It's almost not an AU song, but like it fits in the context of the record, which I think is really fun. Or Cut the Lies, just because I think that's fucking hilarious. I just think that song is just fucking like that one we wrote for fun. It feels it when you you put it on. I'm like, this is a fun song. The beginning is great. It's fucking hilariously rock, and then there's just a fucking mental bit in the middle. Either the two of them, but for different reasons, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was gonna say, I can totally understand that, especially with Reverie, because I mean, you're expecting the songs to go in a different capacity, but then when you bring in the kind of style, and I even brought up, like, there's like a pop structure to it overall, but the unique sound that's behind it creates something that is heavily catchy while still connecting with your artist's true self at what the album is showing. So immediately from the jump, this is completely different than what we're expecting, but it still sounds like it is as everything unfolds in the context of how everything is progressed up to this point in the album. And when you hear this, you still feel that at the core.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I think we're quite good at making songs that are different feel unified, you know, under our banner of the band, you know. And that's something that we've always liked to try and do, and that we really enjoy. So I remember when we first started out, when we were moving into these slightly different genres and having a bigger breadth of stuff, we were talking about it. We're like, oh, can we do this? Can we do this? And like, fucking A Day to Remember have been doing this since the beginning of time. Like, they don't give a shit, you know. Some of their stuff is like the saddest little ballady stuff in the world, and they do some fucking mental heavy stuff, and nobody bats an eyelid. So I was like, well, maybe we can do that too. But you've got to have that core that feels like it's the same band. I think as soon as it feels like 2 different bands, then you fucked it. Then you need to kind of rejig something. You know?
Yeah, and A Day to Remember is a good example to bring that up to. Look at the Homesick album. I mean, go from Downfall of Us All to Mr. Highway Sing About the End to If It Means a Lot to You. It's a very, very different transition, but it still feels like it's a day to remember on all 3 songs.
And that's important. It wants to feel like that. But then when you listen to it, you feel the breadth of what's happening in their lives. And that happens to you in your life. Like, none of us are living these, you know, one-track lives where just the same thing. I mean, maybe some people have got the Groundhog Day thing going on, you know. But for the most part, different things happen in different days, different emotions in different seasons. We're constantly going through different stuff. So I think that the story of an album should reflect that as well.
Yeah, it's human, it's authentic, and it's more encompassing than just hearing the same song 12 times over and over again, the same song done in 12 different 12 different time signatures or 12 different riffs on top of it.
Oh, yeah, dude, we'd never get away with that anyway. Like anything outside of 4/4 makes Charlie very upset, so we'd never get away with that.
Yeah, throw something 6/8 at Charlie, see what she says.
Well, there's just gonna mention like, what the fuck is this? Can't count it. I think there's only one. I'm trying to think of how many. I think there might only be one track. It's not even in this album. It's in the Ultraviolet album. The breakdown for Flipside is 4/4. Then 7/8, then 4/4, then 7/8 in the breakdown, or the other way around. I can't remember what it is. That's the only time we got away with it. I think we only got away with it because she's not singing. It's fine. We can just be musos in the corner.
Well, if you ever guys write a song that's in like 6/8 time and Charlie starts like wondering who the hell wrote this, I'm just gonna end up getting a call on Zoom and be like, she's gonna yell at you right now, and I'm just gonna be getting yelled at going like this. Hey, how's it going? Well, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it'd be nice to try and do something like that at one point, but like dance music and stuff that's always driving is always in 4/4, so I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see how it all plays out. But before I wrap this one up, I got two last questions I want to ask you. First is the brand new album, of course, Did You Ask to Be Set Free, comes out on April 10th, 2026, but there's still a good chunk of 2026 left after that we got to know what's going on. So what else can we expect from you guys for the rest of the year?
It's all stuff that's getting announced very soon. Horrible to say. Potentially we'll do the thing that once this interview comes out, it's already out anyway, so that'll be a bit terrible.
Yeah, but you can't take the chance, and I understand that.
No, no, I can't. But there's stuff coming out soon, and hopefully, as we talked about at the beginning of this interview podcast, is that hopefully we'll have some, in an ideal world, some singly fucking collab magic. That's the thing that I'm really excited for. That's the next thing we really want to have a play at, because I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Give it a shot. See what comes up, because then you never know where some creative juices flow and some new ideas show up, and then you come up with an idea that you guys want to try for the next album. That's where the creative process comes in, and at the same time, then you're still just having fun with this, and that's always a good thing. That's the most important bit. Absolutely. Now it's time for my final question before we wrap this up. It's something I like to ask every artist I bring in the podcast as a way to figure out, for us, more great new music to check out and for you to support the music you love. So I'm going to ask you for 3, because otherwise we're going to be here all day. But can you name me 3 bands or artists that you love that you would love to see more people get into right now?
I mean, the number one is always Bryan Adams, but I think he's got a lot of people into him already. But he's fucking sick. I would say fucking Evil. They're a really cool band. They're up and coming. They're wicked, good friends of ours. Make some fucking sick tunes. And Malavora, fucking wicked band. They're really cool. Definitely check both of them out. Obviously, Bryan Adams. Everyone's heard of Bryan Adams, hopefully. Fucking unbelievable rock star. But Evil and Malavora, definitely 2 bands you should check out.
And Bryan Adams.
If you haven't already.
Yeah, we're still throwing that one in there because 1, you said it, and 2, well, that's just fun.
Dude, he's the only downside is that I heard he's Canadian, and that took me at least a good couple of months just to come to terms with that.
I mean, just to say, well, it took me a long time for you to come to terms that you were Canadian. He'll just look at you and say, "Oops, sorry about that."
I'll be like, "That's on me, dude."
Nah, that's on him for being Canadian and having his head go up and down like this when he speaks.
Oh, I would love to see him in South Park. That'd be cool as hell.
I'm pretty sure they made him in South Park at some point in time.
If they haven't, I might have to start a petition or something.
Probably. Well, Adam, I want to thank you for taking the time again to be on the Chord Progression Podcast. We're going to close episode 3 things. First things first. As everything unfolds, brand new album, Did You Ask to Be Set Free, comes out on April 10th, 2026. When it comes to making sure you're ready for that album to come out, when it comes to listening to it, pre-ordering it, following along with the band, knowing what's going on with them so that you can go see them live as well, please go strip the podcast below where it says find as everything unfolds online. Links, labels for everything for social media, YouTube, where you can listen to the album, stream the album, buy the album, pre-order it, pre-save it, see him play live and get some merch. It's all down there. So I'm doing all the research. Do not let me down. I'm putting all the hard work. Come on, don't be like that. Just go follow him. Now it's time for number 2. Whenever guests in the podcast or doing the podcast, I tend to make a certain promise as a way to say thank you. I appreciate you taking the time, and I wish to continue to support the band in the future. And this is how I do it because this is the way I want to do it. Promise starts with when. One implies this is going to happen. We just don't have a day or time right now. But when I get to see you perform live for the first time, I will come and find you. I'll come and say hello to you. But first round's on me.
Done. Easy.
Perfect. And then we will drink while listening to Chinese Democracy and making fun of it.
We might need a few more drinks.
We might need a few more drinks, but luckily the Wi-Fi won't cut out on us then.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Now it's time for number 3 as we bring this to its conclusion. I cannot end this by saying goodbye. That is way too final. Dude, this is technically like your second time on, so I'd love to have you on for a full third. Beyond that, though, I want to make sure I make good on that promise, so goodbye is way too final. We'll end it by saying, I'll see you later.
See you next time.
Well, folks, I have an interview with Adam from As Everything Unfolds. Now time for Kevin's final thought. When Adam was going off about artists that, they're not as big as they used to be, or, think about artists that are legacy artists. Oh, they're not as big as they used to be. They're not as important as they used to be. He brought up a great point, and it makes a lot of sense. Let's take a look at, Let's take a look at band like, I brought up The Killers, I brought up Korn. We could take a look at Metallica as well. Let's use Metallica as a perfect example. When Metallica was, not Metallica. I'm not going to use Metallica as a perfect example. Because I just thought about the time they played in Russia, and I'm like, oh, that's a little bit of a outlier in this one. But let's go with like The Killers in this example. When they released Hot Fuss in 2004 with songs like Mr. Brightside and Somebody Told Me, culturally, they were the most relevant artists out there. Everyone knew, if somebody told me that you had a boyfriend that looks like a girlfriend. It was everywhere. Or now Mr. Brightside is everywhere too, and it still is. And when it comes to, how culturally relevant those artists were at that time, it was the peak of them. And it was even at the beginning. But now, culturally, they're just not as big or not as relevant compared to where they were 20 years ago. However, you take a look at where they would have been playing shows and how many people would have been loving them in terms of like going to see them play live and supporting them back in like 2004, 2005. They've been playing like 3,000 cap rooms. Now they play, amphitheaters. Green Day, who would have played, larger concert venues, like larger ballrooms with like 1990s, or then when they released American Idiot, are playing stadiums, and they opened up Super Bowl 60. Yeah. And they headline festivals. So it continues on, and we're going to see it with bands like Bad Omens and Sleep Token. Bad Omens' cultural relevance in 2022 is probably the peak of their cultural relevancy. Sleep Token's peak in cultural relevancy is 2023, even though both bands are still hugely culturally relevant right now. But when that time hit and the immediate aftermath, take a look at what happened. Bad Omens played their 2022 headlining show in rooms that were constantly being upgraded. But here in Milwaukee, it got up to a room that was at the most 1,250 people. It would have gone even higher than that if they would have had the ballroom at the Rave open, but someone was playing up there that night already. The next time they came back the following year, they were in the ballroom and sold it out. That's 4,000 plus. Now, the last time they came to Milwaukee, which was 2025, they headlined the amphitheater at Summerfest, which is tens of thousands of people. Yeah. So even if they're not as culturally like booming as they were in 2022, they're still as big as ever. Sleep Token, before 2023, they were the opening act for In This Moment and Nothing More. 2023 hits and they're like the biggest, hottest band in the world. Then 2024 comes, they're playing in venues that are they're not even the headliners on, like main stages. They're not even basically on main stages at festivals. They're playing in rooms like 3,000, 3,500 plus. The following year, selling out arena tours in minutes. And are they as culturally like impactfully relevant as they were in 2023? Maybe not. But are they a lot bigger than they were? Hell yeah. So if you get that moment ever as an artist of like the virality, and it's like, oh, you might not be as culturally relevant as you were back then, take a look at how many more people you're connecting with just because of that one moment or that one time in life, and see how long it lasts. Hopefully a lot of other bands get that we bring on the podcast, like As Everything Unfolds. And I would love to thank Adam for being on the podcast today. When it comes to As Everything Unfolds, go to podcast below, link symbols for everything, where you can find them online, where you can listen to the brand new album, Did You Ask to Be Set Free, on April 10th, where you can pre-save, where you can pre-order it, where you can go see them play live, and of course, where you can go and get support going for them with brand new merch. Please also follow us at the Chord Progression Podcast. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Descriptions in our link description below. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube, which is right down here. Hit the subscribe, follow button, Spotify, and podcast. Hit the like buttons up so I'll push in the algorithm. And go to the comments and let us know what you thought about that final thought. Just because a band isn't as culturally relevant as they were at their like massive booming heyday in terms of that moment, are they bigger now in terms of the amount of people they connect with versus what they did when they were as culturally impactful back then? Just think about it. Let me know what you think. I want to thank Adam once again. Thank you guys. And that's going to be it for me today. Thank you for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin. And you guys know how I end every single one. That's big, healthy, and hearty. See ya. Yeah.